you're saying, I think, because like I've been really liking it from the beginning. I think Kamala Khan is basically like the symbol of the fandom and the nerdom. You know, we like cosplay, we, theorize all these things. Like Kamala Khan could be like our third co-host
Right,
here. You know what
right.
I mean? Like she is that person. And for me, I think it's kind of cool to see a character that embodies like the whole fandom, and not just the character, but the actress herself. Like, did you know this is her first like big acting
Mm-hmm.
gig, like first
Yeah.
role? Like that's insane. I would have never thought that. But even her, like, she's a cosplayer. She nerds out. She talks back to Kevin Feige. Like he's in terms of just like when it comes to theories and like the way she interprets the MCU and just the comics in general, because she knows that
Mm-hmm.
world. So I've been on board since first episode. I thought I've been loving it, but I think this episode, the story, because we got so much more on Kamala Khan's origins and how they exist in the MCU, because that's been and still continues to be a big question mark, being that her powers are so different from the comics. And I'm really liking what they're doing. And like, they didn't give us everything, but they did give us a lot in this episode to get, for us to have an idea of what her powers, her
I
origins
was waiting. I
are.
was waiting for
But there's
Inhumans.
still
I
more
just
to
wanted to hear them
see.
say Inhumans, like the whole entire like, oh, we come from this. We're sometimes called this and this. I was like, drop the I bomb. Do it.
I want to
Do it.
scream. I, dude. Okay. So let's hop into it because I have
Mm-hmm.
ideas and I'm gonna get everywhere. This is a good episode. It's a good episode. So this episode starts off with in 1962, British occupied India, right? So we have um the not necessarily origins of the Bengal, but at least how it came to be part of Kamala's like
Mm-hmm.
family,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because we have Kamala's great grandmother, Aisha, and we have Kamran's mother, who apparently come from the same
Mm-hmm.
place. But it's not our dimension. It's a completely different dimension. But in this scene, we have one severed blue
Mm-hmm.
arm that's holding one of the two Bengals. You
Go
ready?
for it.
This is a Cree. It has to be a Cree. And not only is that like exciting because ooh cool, like this is Cree. Cree were a part of Captain Marvel's story. That's pretty cool because now we're in Miss
Mm-hmm.
Marvel. But the Cree is are the creators of the Inhumans in the comics.
Mm.
So
That is true.
either this is a nod. This is either a nod to, Kamala Khan's origins or original origins in the comics, or it's foreshadowing that she may still be explained to be an inhuman down the road. Because to what you were mentioning, because I know what you're talking about, like when they were naming, like, oh, we've been called different things in the past, like demons, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I thought she was going to finish with inhumans. And then we get some random thing that we were like, what the hell is that? But however, since there was that Easter egg in the
Mm-hmm.
beginning, and they're known to be known by so many different
Mm-hmm.
names. Maybe right now we're just focusing on like the main name, which is the Jinn, but maybe down the road we get to hear like, oh yeah, and another name that the Jinn happen to go by the way, are Inhumans.
Right.
So there's still a chance, chill. There's
So
still a chance.
say kind of just to expand on like the Creed. Like I remember that was the direction that they took in Agents of Shield. Like they made that connection of Inhumans and the Kree. The only thing here that it as far as now in the MCU would be why bring the Kree up here now, being that in their origin story they mentioned that they're from a quote unquote another dimension, but we already have like a glimpse of the Kree, and they have their own planet as to like where Captain Marvel went, and where she trained to become Captain Marvel, So that is the line in which of clarity that we need as far as is it actual. It's like I know, of course, we see the blue, we both get excited, but now it's a matter of how can we fit Kree into this conversation of Miss Marvel.
No, totally. And even if that's not the question we have, there's still like a whole bunch of questions, because it's like, who are they referring to? Because they referenced a man that basically put them on this hunt of like, oh, he said we needed two. We don't know what happens if we only have one. Like, who is this guy that they're referring to that, because they're like, oh, the guy at the temple. You know what I mean? So there's still this vague individual that kind of led them onto their quest of the
Mm-hmm.
Bengals, which seem to be what can help get them
Yeah.
home, right? It's this whole thing. And so I did see this one theory being that um because there was this individual who is of blue skin, obviously not of
Mm-hmm.
Earth, right? So we could assume it's a Kree, but obviously there's so many different um species of aliens that we just aren't aware of, and I'm sure other of them are identified by like that color,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, but regardless, is like, where did the blue figure come from? If it is a Kree, how is it connected with this
Mm-hmm.
story? And it doesn't seem like this Kree necessarily came from the dimension of like Kamala's family, because they had to come looking for
Right.
this, from the in the rumble of like this temple. So there's still like a lot of questions, which is why it could still be that maybe this was just like a slight little like Easter egg and nudge to what the original origins of Kamala
Mm-hmm.
is and the connection to the
Yeah.
Inhumans. It could just be that, or it might mean more. So there's still a lot of questions, but that was pretty cool. It was a great intro scene. Like, that was amazing, you know?
I like honestly, my first thought when seeing the blue arm, for some reason, I went into, I don't know, just some art, like random art that I've seen in like Middle Eastern cultures, to where it's like, I think it's like a blue body with the head of an elephant. Like, for some reason I thought it was just like that in relating to that type of culture. I wasn't like, being that we didn't see a head, all we saw was a hand, was an arm. That's where my mind went. I didn't even think Cree, of course, but I don't know. I was just kind of thinking way back into the culture of whatever culture that I saw this in, like a museum or whatnot, of the blue being with
Yeah.
the elephant head.
We went on two different paths when it came to Blue
Yeah,
Hand. But you know what?
I'm gonna
Who knows?
Google it.
We still do not know what it is. Just Google, I'm going to find out what this is. I don't know, but it's interesting because it's like, okay, so we know whatever being this blue thing is, it's not from the same dimension. It doesn't seem like, because they had to come and find it. However, they were the original carriers of the bangle. So then Kamala may have a connection to both, the Noor
Mm-hmm.
dimension and these blue creatures, Kree or
Yeah.
not, being that this bangle, like, I know that that Kamran's mom says like, oh, it unlocks your powers potentially because you're both of this lineage and you live in this dimension, or you're from this dimension. But what if the reason the bangle works on her is because she actually has a connection to both, the Noir dimension and like who, whatever race that severed hand is from. All of it is a question mark, but I'm just
I
excited.
couldn't find it. But moving on. We got that, and I kind of like where we're at, because here with the woman, which confirmed is the woman that we saw in the blue vision. She kind of she kind of makes it clear here that they're on Kamala's side, and that she doesn't want the bangle. But here, of course, I'm already thinking this seems a little off, and of course later on in the episode that we it was like we do see it, that it is. But even here, when Kamala was just like, so do you want the bangle? And then she was just like, nah, it's, I forgot what she said, but even there I was just like, she wants it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. And before we continue on that, right? Before we continue on that, and the conversation she's having with Kamran's mom, did you catch the? Can you
Yeah,
hear me?
did I catch what?
Oh, okay. I got scared. No, it's because I was like, you took off your headphones and was still talking. No, I was gonna say, you did you not catch the Ten Rings reference in this intro scene of Miss
No,
Marvel?
break it down. I
Dude.
missed it.
Okay, dude, come on. Okay, so number
Ten
one,
Rings.
you
Wait, the
missed
Ten
the
Rings,
end credit scene
the
of
organization,
episode one.
or the actual Ten Rings?
No, you see the symbol. Literally, they're on the rubble with an imprint of the 10 rings. Like their symbol is imprinted, like they're standing on it. You didn't see this?
I missed it. I was searching for them. I was
Chill.
search
Sign
through the
off.
rubble.
I'm gonna
I
call
was looking. I
Kamala
was searching through
Khan.
the rubble to see what they were gonna find. You know what I'm saying? But no, I
Dude,
missed it.
no, yeah, there was a symbol. So this is cool because, well, a couple things. Like it's kind of cool because we're getting a reference to something that also has, in that case, like the 10 rings, which is an artifact that is potentially alien. Like Carol
Mm-hmm.
Danvers can't tell you from what part of the galaxy, but it's 100% not of
Mm-hmm.
Earth. Like the origins are still
Mm-hmm.
TBD. Very much like the Spangle, you know. So I love that connection, but I also love so much that they are doing this like bigger than just Miss Marvel world building because we still have the MCU to build, right? To
Mm-hmm.
create in this phase, and I love that they're doing these little tie-ins. Um, because that's what we love from Marvel. We love like those little Easter eggs that connect and weave these stories together. Like for me, that's so exciting. And also, in addition, it does also kind of highlight the organization of the 10 Rings and when Wu and his dynasty that kind of spread across
Mm-hmm.
everywhere and apparently also South Asia.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's a really cool reference. Like when it happened, I was like the Leonardo DiCaprio meme with like like look at that. It was really cool. I'm sad you didn't catch it, but you got to look back at it. It excited
Well,
me.
if we're gonna touch that, just because I remember in our Shang-Chi conversation, uh, like the origin of the Ten Rings in the comics, I believe you mentioned to be quote unquote from another dimension. And I think here, even in the Shang-Chi movie, uh, being that they kind of gathered and realized they're not of any alien planet that we've already kind of established, maybe that these rings may be quote unquote interdimensional, you know? So now, fast forward to here,
Yes,
uh, we're finding out that these people are from another dimension to where who knows if the let's say one of the bangles that they're looking for was bust down into 10 rings. You know, it could be a multitude of
mm,
of many things. You know, you have one solid one, and then you got one that was broken down just to be now belong to Shang-Chi. You know, so yeah.
dude. I love that so much. I love that so much because, like me, I'm over here thinking this is just like kind of like just a tiny little Easter egg in the back end that isn't necessarily going to mean anything for like the series itself and how the story like develops. But now it's like, who knows? Like maybe we're going to get something that's more concretely connected to
Mm-hmm.
Shang-Chi and answering like more definitively where those are
Yeah.
from. Like yeah, like I mean, being that like Miss Marvel, although she doesn't know everything, she has been like, go in all areas of space. She's well
Mm-hmm.
traveled. She can't recognize it. She can't even have really a pin to say where it's from. She says it's not
Mm-hmm.
Kree, specifically
Mm-hmm.
says that. Um, and so, they might be very much like interdimensional like objects, and then this might even give us an idea of like where specifically it's from. Like maybe not from the noir dimension, maybe so. That's kind of
I
cool. I like that. Or the idea that like it is a broken down version of the
Right.
bangle, you know?
I feel like with these questions, as of right now, I think that would it. This should this should bring uh Wong's first Disney Plus cameo into a TV show. Because so far he's only been
Ooh,
in movies, but if anything, if he senses what's going on with her, just kind of like what he sensed with Shang-Chi, um, maybe he could maybe analyze this bangle now. It's like, oh, I just checked something out similar over here, and then oh look, they're from the same places. Because even in that breakdown in Shang-Chi, he kind of broke down the materials, right, in terms of saying the materials aren't of Earth, right? So who knows?
Yeah,
Who
exactly.
knows?
Yeah.
I hope he shows up, because as of right now, phase 4 it's kind of been phase Wong, so hopefully Wong can get like a TV cameo as well.
You know something on that same note, I mean, I believe the next project we're going to see Kamala Khan come into is going to be the
Mm-hmm.
Marvels. I can't think of another
Yeah.
project that she's been like said that she'd be in, but I know that's the next one that will happen. Maybe we're going to see in this series as it wraps up something like that. I mean, like Wong was having a conversation with Bruce Banner and Captain Marvel. You know what I mean? Maybe that is like how she ends up getting connected with her because they're both going to be in the Marvels. That might be it. Like this may actually be the way that she gets tied into the greater
Look at that,
MCU.
y'all. We're calling it right
Bring it
here.
in.
Episode boom. Uh,
Boop.
we're talking about it. Episode 3. Mark the date, June 24th, and we called it right here. There it is.
Boom. TM
And that
trademark.
was, we've only
Done.
talked about maybe like the first 3 minutes of the episode, but let's keep it moving. So, um,
Dude, we could literally finish here and we already won the day. But yeah, let's move it on. So we get introduced to not only, the idea of this coming from a different dimension, we get the new name of the dimension, which is the noir
mm,
dimension, also known as the light dimension. So the comics does not have a reference for something called the noir dimension from what I could
mm-hmm,
see. I believe they do have something called the light dimension. Um, and I couldn't find too much on it. So this does seem to be something that's a little bit more original. From what I've been kind of reading, a lot of the origins that we're seeing now kind of take place of what was in the comics is more based in like the mythology of like Kamala's culture, which is kind of cool. Like I do love that, they're changing the origin, obviously for it to be more
mm-hmm,
original from same Mr.
mm-hmm.
Fantastic, but it's in a way that does also align with like Kamala's culture, which I think is really cool.
I think if anything, that yeah, that just adds to just everything even that we've talked about with like Moon Knight. Like right now, Feige and whatever writers that deciding to whatever writers he's choosing for which show, I'm sure he's giving them the task to make the show as authentic as possible, but use the comics more so for reference. So it's not necessarily like going by comics verbatim, and that's just how it's been
Hmm.
throughout the whole MCU. It's like, yeah, there may have been a few instances to where um, it was like a legit comic book reference, and I think you even mentioned it here in the Thor: Love and Thunder trailer, to where it's like, oh, these scenes came straight out of the comic book, but of course these are more so just kind of like source material, to where you have a Pakistani superhero here, and they're trying to not have it so as if she has the same powers as Mr. Fantastic. That's one task, just to not compare to that. But now we have to compare, or not even compare, we have to make almost like a brand new power, but still have it similar to that of the comic book, And we can't,
Yeah, yeah, I think,
and being
yeah.
that we've scrapped the Inhuman project, now we have to dig a little deeper into that culture and their mythologies, in which makes sense, And I'm sure there may be something out there that has something to do with like Norse or something like that, because she knew that word translated to light. So if anything, that was just kind of like a dig into their culture, to now people watching this show, people of that culture watching that show. I feel like they enjoyed that little tidbit. They know it's fake, they know it's false, but it may be in relation to something in real life of that culture.
I think they're taking the opportunities to add in more of it, and I think they're doing it really well because it still follows like the tone of what happens in the comics, which the MCU does. It's like you said, they're adaptations. It's never like a page for
Right.
page. This is probably one of the most original when it comes to really like her powers themselves. The origin is very different. I think this is the most like different they've done with that, with like a very like a main character in a project. And I think that's why it's like this episode is so exciting because you're getting more answers to what's going on. Like they haven't used, the words Terrigen bomb or
Right.
Terrigen mist
Right.
or Inhumans yet, but they kind of plug in different things in the place. So it's like she has Jinn blood, which is unlocked by the
Mm-hmm.
bangle, the same way that in the comics she's an Inhuman and that is unlocked by the Terrigen mist. And it's like all of this is just it's nice. Like I've looked up a lot of different things on like Reddit, and like a lot of people like are on the same boat of like they're really just loving the storytelling. Like the storytelling's really
Mm-hmm.
cool. Whenever you don't know what's going on, I mean, we do this all the time. It's like we go to the source material, which is the comics. Well, we know that the powers are so different than comics that it's still kind of big, like
Mm-hmm.
TBD sign when it comes to predicting and all of this up to this point. This I think this episode really um definitively states a lot of things that people were assuming, like, just the relationship between her and the Bengal. They haven't used the word Inhuman yet, but they're still kind of like teasing it. Like the fact that they were listing and listing and listing and like, and more, but we're mainly known as the Jinn. Like it still leaves the door open for them to bring in the topic of Inhumans, but we get to explore a lot of different routes
Right. Right.
until
They're
we
not
get
saying
there,
it.
if we
They're
get
not
there,
saying it verbatim, but like they're touching, and they may never use the term inhuman, but who's to say that uh, Inhumans are coming into the MCU, but now they're known as what are these beings called again? They're yeah, the
Jinn.
Jinn. So the
Mm.
Jinn may be the new Inhuman, if that makes sense.
Yeah, or like that's kind of the name that they're like. Oh, we are more like we're commonly known as like the
Right.
Jinn, but like they said, like they're known by so many different names that maybe they're also known as Inhumans, but we're just you know learning about them under like the word of the Jinn for now. So it's still like people can still get the delivery of the Inhumans, but even if you don't, like the story as is already really
Right.
good. So like I said, like if the Kree hand, if it is a Kree, if it's not a suggestion of maybe that there's still an Inhuman origin to come, it's still an Easter egg to her origins in the comics. So regardless, like I think I'm really liking what I'm getting so far.
Well, I feel like like they're coming just because of Black Bolt being in Doctor Strange. They threw a random Inhuman in that movie, and of course, if you hadn't watched the series or anything else like Agents of Shield or anything like that, you would have just looked at him and just like, who is this guy? Like, how does he have his powers? It's like we know everybody else from
Mhm.
mutants and how Captain Marvel got her powers and so on and so forth. So I think if anything, Inhumans are maybe in Kevin Feige's back pocket, and he's kind of slowly introducing us into that.
And that's one of the things people were saying. It's like, okay, like Kamala Khan's like original story has always been Inhumans in the comics. We just got the introduction of an Inhuman in like the canon MCU with Black Bolt being in Multiverse of
Right.
Madness. Like the timing is very coincidental, right? For these two things becoming so close in like just time
Mm-hmm.
span. That might also be an indication to be like, okay, like down the road of the series, it might still be a reveal. It's everyone is still on their toes. But it's not like we're waiting for this to happen for the show
Right.
to have like
Right.
delivery. Like the show is already good as is, but it's cool that they haven't left the door closed on that just yet. Like that to me, I think is really good storytelling. Whether it gets delivered or
Correct.
not. But let me see. Not magical rings. I'm looking at the my little notes here. Oh, okay. When she's having the conversation with Kamran's mom, because I know you mentioned it, like, she's like, do I have to give you my bangle or something like that? And she's being nice, but in like a way that you already sense it's
Mm-hmm.
manipulative. Like we said it in the last episode at the end, we're like, okay, like they saved Kamala, but even for those who didn't have kind of like a little bit of a, ooh, like Kamran's bad in the comics vibe, maybe he's bad here. Something didn't sit well with that, like quote
Mm-hmm.
unquote save,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And here, like it kind of still feels of that way, you know?
Um, I can't speak on Kamran just because in this episode he turned out to be, it looks like a good guy, and he doesn't have, or he doesn't really share the same opinions of his mother
As
and the
his
rest
mom.
of the group. So the he's a question mark as well, you know. As of right now, I remember you said he was a villain and he may have superpowers, but as of right now, I think the only person to have powers here is Kamala, and it's like it's clear that his family wants to use her powers to bring them back to their dimension.
Yeah, and this is another great weave of kind of like what is the lore in the comics and what it is here is that, in the comics, he is also an inhuman. He's aware of Kamala Khan's powers. He is evil in the comics. And here, it's although Inhumans isn't being used just yet, like it's revealed that they are of a similar origin because their like families come from this other dimension. And I think it's the mom that says, we don't age here, but we don't have our full powers from the Nord dimension because or the Bengal doesn't give us the same powers because we're not of this
Mm-hmm.
dimension, but you do because you're from here and you have like Nor blood or something like that. And I think she says something like, "Oh, and being that Kamran is also born in this dimension, maybe he'll find something down the road that also unlocks his. So who knows? Maybe he's going to be the one to get the other bangle that's still TBD. If it's not hasn't been separated and turned into the ten
Yeah.
rings. But I think like I like Kamran here. I was like, okay, I see what you did.
Yeah.
I think he's a good guy here. I do. I really do think that he's not gonna play like the villain role at this point. I did think that that last episode, I feel like this episode really split it. That it's like his family, like he was on board with helping them get home, but he was shocked when he found out that his mom knew that it might be dangerous to use the
Right.
Bengals to get back home. Like it might be like a bomb and like destroy who knows, like maybe all of Earth. Like we don't know how powerful like or how destructive that event
Sure.
could be. And she's still like, yeah, so like we need the Bengals, and he's like, we can't do that. So I think he's good. I think he's on team like
I
Kamala.
I
You
like
know?
the idea of just the story that her dad ended up breaking down in the convenience store with Bruno. Um, like he read the story because I don't even think at that point Bruno had it translated to even understand. But like his dad was just like, oh, let me help you, let me read it, and then he kind of
Read.
broke it down as like, uh, it's like these are like these type of people, and a group of these people were banished because of their quote unquote, let's say, evil ways or whatnot. And in order for them to get back, they need like some massive energy source to get back, right? So right then and there, I think Bruno, I don't know if he relayed the fact that these are quote unquote evil beings to Kamala, or maybe he did, but maybe Kamala is kind of too engulfed to the point to where like, hey, they actually know my great grandmother and they know the source of my power, so I'm just kind of not even hearing this evil being type situation. But his dad, I mean her dad, kind of made it clear that these people were a banished and b not good, you know. So I don't know. That was something that I kind of took from that story.
Yeah, because he's like, oh, like some people know them as genies, as demons, but what's known as they're exiled, damned from their own dimension, and they're searching for a way to go back
Mm-hmm.
home. Kamala, like, already kind of had a feeling of it though, because the Jinn is like a source of
Oh
nightmares
right,
from
right.
her
Ghost
like
stories and
childhood,
all that. Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
she had like a taste. Yeah, yeah. I think she had it. Like, I don't think she absorbed it though, like you said, because she likes.
Mm-hmm.
Kamran. Like the mom seems nice to her. Right? When Kamran comes to her later in the episode and is like, "You guys need to leave because my mom's coming," and she's
Gonna
like,
kill everybody.
"Gonna kill
Mm-hmm.
everybody," and she's like, "But she was so nice to me." Like she still like can't believe it, and he's like, "You need to run."
Right.
And so I think she 100% overlooked it, like because when she heard like Jin, I mean, she was so disappointed. She's like, "I'm not a guardian. I'm not like a this. I'm a Jin."
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's not what she was fully expecting to be, and obviously like this um um I guess deep dive that Bruno went into, and then like the dad helped to kind of read for all of us, just adds to it. And I think it's after this is that because the dad talks about there needing like a primordial
Mm-hmm.
power in order for them to be able to go into their old
Mm-hmm.
dimension. I think it's from there because Mr. Bruno is like super smart, and so he figures out exactly what be well, or roughly like theoretically what would be needed to get back, and that it would cause potentially like a really massive destruction in its wake, like something equivalent to like a bomb,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Um. Tell me where we're moving on at because we're not at the wedding just yet.
Not just yet. We kind of skipped over a couple of points here, going into the convenience store scene. But before we leave it, I wanted to say the pie pastry thing that Kamala's dad went in to
I
get.
love those.
Have you
I
had one
love
of
them.
those? Are you aware,
I love them.
dude? When he talks about, he's like, I don't know if it's something in the artificialness, and like, I was like, isn't that the truth? Because sometimes, like, when I saw it, I can taste it, like the crunchiness of the
Mm-hmm.
crust, the thickness of the frosting on above it.
Yeah,
Dude,
I'm
dude.
guilty of like, cause if you go to any Ralph's over here in California, they have
Oh
like
yeah.
a stand of those specifically, either apple or cherry, and then I can say like I've cut down, of course, but like years ago, I couldn't go into Ralph's without grabbing one of those things. So yeah, I know exactly where it
I haven't
was.
had one in so
Yeah,
long. I think my favorite used to be the cherry. I
yeah.
have a feeling because I feel like I can remember,
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, I think the cherry was my favorite. But you know what we should do for our little birthday celebration
Hmm.
of the show? We should each just have one,
on
like,
on camera.
as our treat on camera. We'll
I'll
make it
do it.
happen.
I'll
But
be
no,
down.
we need that. Yeah, it was so good. It was so good. Okay, let me kind of see where we Oh, okay. So in a little earlier in the episode, when Kamala is kind of telling Bruno about what she just found out, the noir dimension, her powers, that she's a djinn, all of that. He brings up something that got me excited because it was an Easter egg for Thor, and I don't know if you caught it, but he's like, "Oh, there is this paper on interdimensional travel by Eric Selving," and then
Mm-hmm.
that's where he kind of pops into his research. That is our dear friend
From
Eric
Thor.
from
Yep. Yep.
Thor.
I caught
Thought that
that.
was so cool. Like dude, like I just love how this is connecting to like the greater worlds of the MCU because that's what you need. Like I think obviously the purpose for a show like Moon Knight was completely different. It wasn't meant to be super connected just
Mm-hmm.
yet. But for this one, it just makes sense and excites me because it feels like traditional MCU stuff. Like it just gets me really excited to see all the connections of like I know what that is. I know that name. I know that it's
But
it's
see,
cool.
like, me. Of course, I'm the connection guy. I've always wanted it, and they're giving it to us. But say here, even in this moment of him referencing Eric Selvig, like we have so many terms now. Like you and I, we've kind of debated the whole term, uh, universe and dimension. And when it comes down to Eric Selvig, if I can recall, he was never really necessarily about interdimensional travel. He was more so studying the event that happened in the Dark World, which wasn't even like the dimensions. Now we're talking different realms and everything like that. So I feel like it was cool. I love that they did that, but now I'm being picky. But that's just me. I'm sorry, y'all.
Well, let's well let's go down that rabbit hole because I mean, if there's going to be any information on interdimensional travel, like I feel like it would make sense for it to be from Eric. Maybe like Sullivan wasn't the one. Maybe we haven't seen him study that specifically, like in different movies. But like this is years and years since the last time we saw him, which was I think um Age of Ultron. I feel like it's the last time I remember. Wait, was it Age of Ultron?
No, it was
Where am
the
I trying
Dark
to think
World,
of?
because he wasn't
The
in
Dark World. Okay, yeah,
Ragnarok.
yeah,
It
yeah.
was it was Dark World. That was the last time we saw him.
I don't know. I'm thinking it. Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while, and even longer in like the years of the MCU.
According to
You know.
Thor, it's
So
been
I,
8 years, however many months, and however many days. That's actually the last time we saw him as
yeah.
well.
And so it's like I can believe that in his studies it would lead him down the path of interdimensional travel because obviously with his time with Thor, he's gotten a good grasp and understanding of how to travel just within different points of, you know, the universe
Mm-hmm.
itself. Because I think we've kind of fell on like dimensions are within a universe, but there's like pockets of
Mm-hmm.
them. And we know that gods like to live in kind of their own little pocket
Mm-hmm.
dimensions within their universe. And being that Eric Sullivan is like worked with gods, he's gone through like studies of understanding just kind of space and time and all of these things. Like for me, it does make sense for that next step on his like understanding of the world is interdimensional travel. Like it makes sense to me, but it is like a big jump. But keep in mind, it's been
Let
eight
me
years, you know. So I feel like it
let
makes
me
sense.
ask you then. I know we're off topic here. We're not talking about Miss Marvel, but do you think the nine realms are really nine different dimensions?
That's another terminology I think we need to outline. Hold on, I'm making notes right now. I'm making notes. Give me one moment. It's like we're one step forward and just like a few steps back sometimes
Right.
with like the naming
Mm-hmm.
system. Okay, so we know there's difference between a different dimension, universe, and now we have like a realm. Um, I don't know. Realm. I'm gonna look it up right now. Realm and dimension.
Right. We may
Here we
get an
go.
answer
Here we go.
in Thor: Love and Thunder, because if we're gonna get Tessa, and Tessa, being that she's quote unquote king of Asgard, she is the king of the nine realms.
Mhm.
Oh, you're raising your hand. You got it. Go for it.
I got it. Okay, so a dimension is a level of consciousness, and within a dimension, you have realms. So, a realm is a particular level of consciousness in which an individual lives. You can have an infinite number of realms within a dimension. Hmm. This doesn't give us the full answer,
Okay.
but I don't know. We'll figure it out for you guys. We'll figure it out. We figured out dimension and universe. This is just another
Yep.
thing.
We'll
Just
figure it
another
out,
thing.
guys.
We'll figure it out.
Okay.
I'm still
I'm
reading
trying
what
to
you need
think
to say.
now. Convenience store. We're moving on. We got the story, and now he brings it back to Kamala, but then he kind of drops the bomb that he's like, "Hey, I got accepted to, what was it, Caltech?"
Yeah, Caltech. And I feel so I don't know. My heart like beats for Bruno because he's like I don't want to leave without knowing you're going to be
Mm-hmm.
okay. You know, and she at this point still doesn't realize the dangers with the
Mm-hmm.
Jinn that she just met, and I feel like he's grasping for her to like listen to him because she's kind of like just in her own
She's
little
been,
like
and ever
like
since
tunnel vision.
since
Yeah.
Kamran, she's been on that. And then she's like, "Why didn't you tell me?" And then of course us as the viewers like, "Yo, he's been trying to tell you for
Girl,
like, come on." You've been all on this
since
guy,
episode
you know what
one,
I'm saying?
two.
Yeah, exactly, so yeah, she's just been in her own world.
And I have a couple things before this, but like just because we're on like the whole Bruno Carmen talk, like Bruno is about to get this beautiful moment with Kamala on the dance floor of the wedding. Like we get maybe a second of it, and as soon as like we're like settling into this moment, Kamran comes in and just snatches her off to the side, and Bruno it has like the saddest look on his face, and we're just like, bro, like what side are you on? Like now that we know Kamran, for the most part, we can kind of assume is a good guy
Mm-hmm.
here. Are you team Kamran or are you team Bruno as of yet,
I'm
as
not
of
on any
now?
team right now. I'm sorry. I can't choose.
Yeah,
Just because
damn.
Bruno,
You love them both, or you're indifferent?
I'm indifferent just because it's like Bruno, he of course is kind of like the sidekick, you know, in terms of helping her trying to develop her powers to where uh Kamran, he just seems like a cool guy that doesn't necessarily want to hurt her, you know, but is familiar with her powers as well, you know. So I haven't grown to like either one of the two better than the other. I'm let's say right now I'm Team Kamala. That's where I'm at.
And let's keep in mind, Kamala doesn't need to choose either of them at the end of the
Right.
story because she don't need no man. She's got the what she call it? She's got the hard lights. She's a djinn, you know.
Mm,
She's independent.
true.
But I don't know. Like I feel like when it comes to Bruno and Kamran, like let's just say if we were to pick a side, I'm just such a like sucker for that whole story of like he was in front of you all along. You know what I mean? Like the best friend, the one right next to you kind of
Mm,
storyline. I don't know, but they're both Team
yeah.
Kamala. Like we know last episode we weren't really sure of what Kamran's true intentions are. Like we know like she does he does like her. He does care about her, like period. And so I guess we'll see. But before we move on, did you know or did you see this that the actor who played Bruno was almost cast as
No,
Spider-Man?
I did not.
Yes, I saw that this week and I freaked out because then when I was watching the episode last night, I just kept seeing it. I'm like, dude, like I could have seen it.
Yeah.
Like I understand why he was maybe in the later runnings. Like I could so see it. Like there's a scene. It's the scene we were actually just left where he tells her that like using the bangle to get them to their dimension might be
Mm-hmm.
catastrophic. The way he's framed with his nerdy things behind, like I was like, dude, I could so see it. Like I could so see him having played our Spider-Man. But I'm happy they brought him in for something because he's I like the character overall. Whether he does have like more down the road
Yeah.
or not, like I'm excited for it.
No, no, no. I didn't know that. I know I've seen him in other things, not Marvel related, but uh, uh, yeah, I know that I've seen him. And then once I saw him here, I was like, okay, they actually got somebody that's somewhat familiar. He's not brand new like Kamala or whatnot, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that he was in the running for Spider Man. It's just Tom Holland. I
Yeah, it was
kind of
kind of
saw all these
cool.
videos like when I was like, okay, who's this Spider Man now? Before Homecoming came out, I saw all these videos of Tom Holland doing flips and shit like that. I was like, okay, that's probably what sold him to be, because
Oh,
because
for
I don't know if he's
sure.
a gymnast, but it was pretty impressive as far as what he can do, you know. So yeah.
I think he is. Like I think he is. And I saw an interview also like it referring to Tom Holland where like I guess he just kind of convinces Marvel to give them all these lessons. Like, hey, you know, like I think for the scene it'd be kind of cool if I got like a dance instructor or you know for this scene actually I think it'd be really great if I learned how to do like X, Y, and Z. So he was like, so I'm just getting all these free classes, you know? Like it's just like I remember him saying that. But I know he's been like a long time
Yeah.
gymnast and like a dancer and
Yeah.
stuff
Yeah.
like that. But yeah, I think our boy Tom was the right
Oh yeah.
choice. But I can see what they saw in him being potentially that
Mm-hmm.
character. Um, so we have this scene with the DODC at the mosque, and we have them, you know, coming in looking for information on who this vigilante could
Mm-hmm.
be, and they're getting closer to Kamala and closer, you know. Um, but this is where we have Nakia, and she comes in because I think the guy they originally approached is the one who's in the running for that same position, right? That Nakia is
Mm-hmm.
looking for, or Nakia is looking for, and he's kind of just being a little passive about it. And then she kind of comes in, of like, whoa, 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 like, where's the warrant? I've seen my
Mm-hmm.
shows. I know my rights. You need to get out. And then once like she's established like the dominance and they're hitting out, then the guy comes in at like secondly and just like bring and take off your shoes next time too. You know, like it was a good scene. It was cool.
He's not.
I wonder if this is what got
He's
her
not the guy
the.
that's in the running. He was like the main guy who was running the whenever they were at the mosque before, and he was, yeah,
Oh,
that
was
was
it?
him. And it's of course the same guy
Ah,
that
just
he was
kidding.
that she kind of talked to at her house at the event before the wedding. Because the guy who
Hmm.
was in the running, that's the quote unquote dad's best friend. He's a much younger looking guy.
Ah, just kidding. Just
Mm-hmm.
kidding. But either way, like I like the setup of the scene where she's like the one coming in to be like being the assertive one, and then he's like, "And take off your shoes next time you come in
Mm-hmm.
here." Like really putting the DODC in their place because they were ready just to kind of like search the place and just disrespect. Like it's still like a religious
Oh
like
sure,
place, and they're just kind of
definitely.
coming in like nothing, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah,
Just put some respect on it. You know what I'm saying? Don't just
just
barge
something,
in.
just a
Yeah,
little bit.
exactly.
At least pretend to be respectful or something, you
Right.
know?
And then from there, I think it goes to uh, Kamala's bedroom to where her friend shows up and lets her know that she is officially a member, a board member. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So that was
Yeah,
cool. She
and she
actually
also
won.
it's cool because like last time like she was really fighting for the position. Like Kamala was really supporting her, and this is also the scene where she shares with Kamala like how upset she is with this
Mm-hmm.
vigilante, and Kamala in the beginning is kind of like disassociated with the conversation until Nakia kind of like shakes her up as like, hello, like I
Right.
won, like can you say something kind of
Right.
a thing. um but I think after this is where we get into what I'm going to call like the bridal
Uh huh.
shower because it just looks like they're kind of prepping for the wedding, or maybe I think they're just getting ready for the wedding in this
Yeah.
particular scene. Um,
I like bridal shower.
but
I
there was
like
like
that.
this. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna name it that. I don't think I've ever been to one, so I don't really know what it is. But I'm gonna say that that's what
Yeah.
this is. Um, let me see. Oh, okay, okay. Did you catch the box and the mask
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
Bruno left for Kamala?
Mm-hmm.
Bruno made the costume.
Oh yeah.
Bruno made the
Mm-hmm.
costume. Like, how can you not love this guy? Oh, Lord, you have no soul. Come
I didn't
on.
put two and two together saying
Ugh.
that thinking that he made the costume. I saw that he gave her the mask, but I didn't really think too much beyond that. So I'm sure with that, it makes sense. Just from,
You need to look beyond what you
I'm
see.
sorry, apologies.
That's okay. I'm quoting Lion King 1.5 right there. There you
There's a
go.
one and a
You're
half.
welcome. Yes? Are you not
I've
aware of
seen
this?
one and two. I don't know if I've seen one and a half. Yeah, and then I saw
You need
randomly
to
on
see one
Disney
and a
Plus
half.
the other day there was like another lion movie, and it was like same animation of like the Lion King. It's just called the Lion something else. So there's a few movies
The
that I feel
Lion
like, of
Guard.
course, that's just, yeah, exactly. It's just not for me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a show. That's a show. Hold on. I'm literally on here. I need to see if they have it on Disney Plus because then I know you can watch it. Yes, it is. Okay, okay, okay. Ready? Hold on. Can you see
Hmm.
screen?
Sure.
Do you see?
Hmm.
Okay, so it's gonna be this one. Just entertain me for a little bit. Just do it.
Right.
Like, okay, it's this one. Hold on. Can I please? No. I'm gonna. Okay, I'll
Man,
text you. I'll
man,
text you.
sure, sure.
Assignment. We'll discuss it
No,
next
we're
episode.
not.
Lion King 1.5. Catch it here next
Hmm.
week, folks.
So, bridal shower, and this is where like we're hearing more so like I don't know. I want to say the good and the bad, but a lot of people and how they feel about this superhero. Okay, because she just heard it from her girl, and now she's kind of hearing it from everybody else, and everybody's thinking like it's kind of bad for their community. And like then she had a conversation with this. I want to call him a minister. I don't really know like what to officially call him, but he's the head of that quote unquote mosque. You know, so being that she had the conversation, like I don't even know if he kind of read it into like her being the vigilante, but like the way he ended it, he's like it's not about you being good, quote unquote. It's about like what you do, you know. And from there, I was like, oh, maybe he's reading in between the lines, you know.
Could be. I feel like the mom kind of does something similar too, because Kamala is like, do you ever feel like the world is this, and that? And the mom responds in like a very loving
Yeah.
way, but I feel like both adults could have looked deeper and maybe they didn't. I don't know. It's hard to say. It's hard to say. Like it may have just been giving advice like to any person, you know. I feel like it reminds me of like Harry Potter
Mm-hmm.
when he's like talking about like the good and the bad stuff, and then I think it's what was the god, his godfather, Sirius is just like, oh, we all have, it doesn't matter like the good, the bad, like we all have both. It's about the side that you choose to act
Mm-hmm.
on. Kind of like that conversation is what it reminded me of. But I like to call this scene or this whole like thing of like the way they're talking about what's the name that they're calling her right now? The really dumb
Nightlight.
name. Do you remember?
Mm-hmm.
Nightlight. So as the way they're referring to Nightlight, it's like the Spider-Man
Mm-hmm.
complex because Spider-Man is like constantly being scrutinized by like the media and the newspaper and all of these
Mm-hmm.
things, but he has to still keep doing good whether people perceive him as a good person. Kind of like what he said, it's like not a thing that you are, but it's a thing that you do.
Correct. I feel like in the first like Batman of like the Dark Knight series, I feel like he said that to to his girl when he was like in his Batman suit, and then she figured out it was like, oh, this is Bruce. But either way, it sounded vaguely familiar, and that's the only reason why I bring it up here. But I think here, this is where we transition into the wedding, which honestly, that wedding to me was super lit. You know what I'm saying? Everybody was doing some choreography over here. Like, of course, I was like, okay, mom and dad are putting on a show for the son, but then here comes Bruno in with some steps. You got Kamala and everybody else. So I like the whole idea of everybody kind of being in on this production for this wedding, and now it just kind of brings up the question: is like, is every wedding like this in that culture?
I feel like it was such a beautiful scene.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was amazing. And it reminded me of like the way we have like bailes de sorpresa and like
Mm-hmm.
quinceañeras where like you just have like, you know, the little dance that like the people do, like the damas and the all the other the chambelanes or stuff. But like also for like a wedding, I know like sometimes like the bride and the groom and like the party will do like a whole little
Yeah.
thing, you know. So I think it's probably something similar because it's like outside of that culture, you have little similar things like
Yeah.
that. So I feel like this is something that you'll definitely see outside of like just say the show. Um, but they got moves. They all got moves. It was beautifully
Yeah.
choreographed. It was so good. I loved it. And then I think from here, let me see. Um, dun, dun, dun. Oh, okay. So during the dance, I think one of the kids is wearing the
Yeah. He
Hulk,
was. I peeped that.
like he
Mm-hmm.
was
Mm-hmm.
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because he has like the it's like the
Yeah.
padding. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. That was the little Easter egg I was gonna
Mm-hmm.
mention. Um, yeah, no, I think that's all I got from like the wedding apart, and then we kind of shift into Conran interrupting this like lovely or would have been lovely moment from Bruno and
Yeah.
Kamala.
But then now, transitioning into that, now that uh, the Jinn are here, uh, Kamala gets everybody out by pulling the alarm, and then now we get to see her in action, because initially last episode where she saves the kid, it was more so her kind of testing the waters of saving someone, but now we actually get to see her in some type of combat. And even though throughout the whole kitchen scene, and even bringing it out into the main room where they were before, we get a lot of I guess instinctive defensive uh, light things as far as her powers, but then we actually finally get to see her form a fist and punch everyone out, you know? So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and like it visually looks a lot like what you would see because I think when I visualize Kamala Khan in like the comics, it's always with like a very like long and big
Mm-hmm.
arm. Like I always see her like she's about to smack something, grab something, whatever. So I feel like this was a really cool way to still like we said, like they're doing something very unique with the powers, but they can still visually look like the way that they originate in the
Yeah.
comics, and that was a really cool scene to
Mhm.
see. Something funny though, before we see this more like active use of her powers, when she's kind of in like that defense mode where she's just not really, it's like
Mhm.
automatic, right? Like autopilot, like defense systems. The song in the background is Living on a Prayer. And so it's kind of just like, she's just
Barely
crossing her
like
fingers,
hanging
hoping for
on.
the best,
Yeah,
things it's just like,
exactly.
yeah,
Mhm.
exactly, exactly. So the music was very like on point for the scene. I thought that was really cool. Um, let's see. Let's see, Kamala, the Jinn. They have these weapons that they kind of pull, like I don't want to say out of
Mhm.
nowhere, but they look to have been compressed in something that I'm sure like these are weapons from their
Mhm.
dimension, but it's the first time we've seen them, and I thought that was really cool. And each of them, from Kamran's family was different. Like I think we got like something of, I don't think there was like a sword, but like a hammer.
Yeah.
It was like a whole bunch of different
Mhm.
little weapons that like I hope we see a little bit closer to. That was really
Yeah.
cool because I thought they were just gonna be throwing like punches.
Right. Like once they started pulling them out, I was like, "Oh, okay. Now they're bringing their weapons out." Like, yeah, we saw like maybe like a mace. We saw uh, a whip, maybe even like a spear, something like that. And from there, this is
Hmm.
like I want to know that because they were all kind of then later captured by the what's the name of that organization? The the
DODC.
DC. I wonder if we're gonna get like any type of like analysis from them on their end just to see, oh, where are these weapons, or what are these, or like where do they come from? Like some type of answers. I'm sure they won't have the answers, of course, but I like it's coming. I feel, of course, in that next episode.
Yeah, and something with that being said, I think in this next episode we'll probably be able to see more of the back end process that the DODC
Mm-hmm.
does with artifacts that have like an in like no distinctive
Yeah.
ownership, or maybe where they're confiscated like in this situation. So I think that's gonna be cool. Yeah, maybe we're gonna see like when we see them process it, like when they took Falcon's like suit and they put like bird suit, you know what I mean? Like when they logged
Mm-hmm.
it, like what I mean? Like maybe we're gonna see that logging process and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And they're most likely going to have to like investigate it and get a better understanding of what they are, since they're not of this
Yeah.
world and they're not like exactly traditional weapons
Right.
either. And maybe that's gonna give us a greater idea of what the story is, because being that Kamran's mom isn't a good person, from what it
Mm-hmm.
seems, like she probably didn't tell him all like the truth
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like maybe there's more to the story that is being left out that we might get to see, and maybe the DODC is going to be part of that investigation that lets us kind of learn more and dig deeper into what's the Jinn and the Noir
Yeah.
dimension.
Yeah. Um, I'm trying to think. Was there anything else? Did you have anything else?
Nakia found
All
out.
right, right,
Well,
right.
Nakia found
Mm-hmm.
out. Yeah.
She definitely found out
And
towards the
I
end.
felt
Yeah.
bad that they hadn't told her.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, I like what the opportunity wasn't really
right.
there, but I understand. She'll get over
It's
it.
not. It's not like because initially when the whole confession of her becoming on the council, I like in that moment, Kamala was trying to come clean. So it wasn't like she wasn't
Yeah.
trying to tell her. I feel like as of right now, this episode, its theme is just like missed opportunities, just like with Bruno announcing the whole Caltech, and she's like, "Why didn't you tell me?" And it's like, "Oh, you've been busy," and you can say the exact same thing to where
Yeah.
Nakia, she's been busy with her whole being a board member of the council of their culture, so it's just missed opportunities. And then you find out,
It's just in
yeah,
bad
bad
timing.
timing.
Yeah, and Bruno's hurt by the end of this because he did try to kind of help in the fight scenes, but it's like him against a Jin, even without full power. Like it was a very unmatched
Definitely.
situation. I'm sure he's going to be fine, but he tells her to run off since they're looking for
Mm-hmm.
her. It's like so if she wants to get them safe, it's best for them to kind of just
Yeah.
separate. Um, And I think from here, let's see. Well, she comes back home and her family does confront her, but they confront her in such like a loving way. Like I just felt like she has the cool, she has really cool
Yeah.
parents. Like her dad is like so eager to be part of her life, like we saw in episode one, like wearing the Hulk suit and
Mm-hmm.
everything. And here her mom is like so supportive of like we just want to make sure you're safe. Like you can tell us anything. And even earlier, like she does give some really good, like genuine, like loving, warm advice. And unfortunately she's like, I just can't, like I can't tell you, like I don't
Right.
know how to tell you, I'm sure like she feels like she might be endangering them if she
Mm-hmm.
does.
Um, I'm looking at her outfit right now because I have it in the background. I mean, I feel like people are gonna find out anyway, being that a majority of her face is being shown and she's just kind of being covered by the eyes. So I feel like her family is gonna find out no
Come
matter what.
on, listen, the fact that they haven't put two and two together, that their daughter who was wearing that same costume that the vigilante now wears, and they never connected
Mm.
that.
Well, they haven't
Mm,
necessarily seen. I
I
don't
don't
think they've
think
seen the
that.
costume in full effect. Like I feel like the mom may have gotten a glimpse, but like I don't. Or did she see it when Kamala came back from Avenger Con?
I think she had it on. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think
Oh,
if they haven't put two
gotcha,
and two
gotcha,
together,
gotcha.
I don't think it's,
Okay,
yeah,
okay,
I don't think they're going to at this
okay.
point. But, you
Yeah.
know, um, and then lastly, we leave with, so Nani, okay, so actually during the fight scene, we do get another vision. And I guess I don't know if it's a train, but it says
Yeah.
Karachi on the top. And I think it's like a destination
Right.
point. And then at the end of this episode, we get the call from Nani, who's Kamal's
Mm-hmm.
grandma. And she tells her, like, you need to come to Karachi. And so I looked up to see if there was like any concrete connections with like that city in Pakistan and the MCU. It's the same place that her family is originally
Mm-hmm.
from, because a lot of people got like during, I guess, like the British um involvement in India, because like they mentioned in like the earlier episodes, like the British just kind of left India in like a
Mm-hmm.
mess. And a lot of people had to go to like Pakistan, a lot of people had to go over here. And so this is where it just seems like her family kind of migrated to from like after that
Yeah.
event. Um, and so when I was looking it up, it's the largest city in Pakistan. It's actually known as the City of Lights, and it's the city that never sleeps. And I'm like, that sounds like New York.
Mm-hmm.
But it's funny the way that when I read that, because like being that her powers here have so much connection with
Mm-hmm.
light,
Mm-hmm.
um, the Noir dimension, which means light dimension, the hard lights, which is what she names her powers. It's kind of cool that the um, city that her family is originally from also has that kind of meaning. So it kind of all ties
Yeah.
together.
Um, yeah, and that's where we were left. We were left on a quote unquote kind of cliffhanger from her grandma, basically. And now we're gonna see how and if she even makes it to what's the name of the city again?
Karachi?
Karachi in episode 4, you know? Because if anything, that's just a story in itself in terms of trying to convince her parents to now go back to Karachi.
Yeah, yeah, and it's funny because earlier in this episode, when they had like what I call the bridal shower, they talked about how like it's so sad that Kamala's grandma couldn't be
Mm-hmm.
there to come and celebrate with the wedding and everything. And so I feel like that was probably a nudge that she was going to come back into play towards the end. So I mean, I guess that's what where episode four is going to
Mm-hmm.
take us. I think that's where we're definitely going to get a better understanding of what happened, because Kamran's mom says the last time that she saw Kamala's great
Mm-hmm.
grandmother was the day that they found the
Mm-hmm.
bangles. But obviously, we know Kamala's grandmother didn't die there, because she still lived on
Have
to
Kamala.
have,
Well,
have
yeah, yeah, yeah.
kids, have
Kamala's family.
yeah, I have the grandma's name. Yeah, 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 like to have that. Sana, which is the grandma, so to have Sana and then have now this whole family. And so there's still like a big gap to find out, like how did they, we saw how they got separated, but like how were they not able to find each other
Right,
after the event that we saw at the beginning of this
right.
episode. So we have a lot of years to kind of fill in the blank there. So I think that's what this next episode's going to be
Yeah.
about.
Um. Well, like I said, this episode 3, it was the episode that actually made me like this show, you know. And I feel like maybe it was the action, you know. We actually got to see some fighting and her actually use her powers to a point, whether if it's defense or whatnot, or even just her lighting up a big fist. I thought it was pretty cool that we actually got to see that, you know. So I know now, of course, we're gonna see more because this is the very beginning of her story, you know. So now Miss Marvel is growing on me. No, she's grown
I
on
think
me.
it's going
Yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah,
She's
yeah.
grown. She's doing no. I'm loving this show so much, and I feel like this show specifically got me so excited because of all the other tie-ins that still like are very involved with her story and maybe what we're gonna find out more about her
Yeah.
origins. But I liked all the tie-ins into like the greater MCU. That was really cool. And I was gonna say actually, so the Bengals. This kind of started off the story,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the Bengals came in a box that was it that they thought came from the grandma or that they assumed was from the grandma. Do you
I
remember?
think it came from the grandma. Yeah,
Like they specifically said, "Oh, this is
yeah,
not yeah, Nani like
yeah,
sent the
yeah.
box." And so it's like we know Nani had the
Mm-hmm.
Bengals. It seems like she knows about the power. I'm like, why did she send them to Kamala? Like, what was you know what I mean? I'm curious to find out like because that really started off this whole story. Is like once she sent over the
Mm-hmm.
Bengals.
Yeah,
It's very
yeah.
interesting,
We'll
exciting.
figure it out. More to come. And again, sorry y'all. I know the YouTube has been a little bit glitchy on this stream. I'm gonna figure it out on my end, but until then, we will be talking about episode 4 of The Boys and Miss Marvel next Friday, and I think we only have maybe, yeah, it's just the next 3 weeks. We have 4, 5, and 6 for both, but I think The Boys maybe has more than 6 episodes, so we'll see.
The Boys has
Hey,
8, so we'll have to probably double up on a couple episodes. But yes, but definitely going to still be Boys and Miss Marvel talk the
yeah.
next week, and Thor: Love and Thunder will be coming around the
Oh
corner. So
yeah.
I'm excited. We got a couple of things coming about. Have you got your tickets yet?
For Thor: Love and Thunder, I'm not getting them until the
Yeah.
day of because they're gonna be available.
What?
They're gonna be there.
Dude, you have too much faith.
I do. Why? Because
Uh,
AMC has not failed me. Okay, Doctor Strange, I was able to get my seats right then and there, and I shout out to those people who go above and beyond and buy them a month in advance when they go on sale. But
dude, I bought them the day of.
they
Please.
will the tickets, the seats will be there because no matter what, the theaters, once they see the pre-ticket sales and they realize, oh wait, we have all this, now let's bring this movie into, let's open up more theaters to the same movies, and the seats will get will make available for the people who didn't, you know. So they know what they're doing. They get it from y'all
See?
from the pre-sale, and they'll get it from me, the regulars.
See, just because of your cockiness, I really hope you don't get it this time. I hope you text me like,
Wow,
Grace, we're gonna
wow!
have
I
to
didn't get it. I
postpone the Thor
didn't
and
get
Love
it. You're a
because I
hater.
didn't get a
You're a
ticket.
hater.
Yes,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
bitter here. I'm bitter. It's
it's cool.
okay. We all have the fans. We have different genres of them. That's all right.
But
They're
the
all
fact
different.
is, I'm
There's no
still a
superiority
fan. I don't
here.
think you should hate. I'm still
Oh, I'm not
going to see
denying.
it.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
I'm not about gatekeeping here. Definitely not saying you're any less or more of a fan. I'm just saying
Dang.
I hate that it works for you. Because I swear, if it was me, no, I'm not kidding you. If it was me trying to play the same
Mm-hmm.
method, I bet you I wouldn't be able to find tickets just because that's what it is. And this is why I'm like, I must get day of.
Well,
That's all right. That's all
yep.
right.
Well, I
May
will.
the
Yeah,
Lord
I
be
will
with
let you
you.
know. And if they're sold out, then I'll go the next day. It'll be all right. It'll be fine.
It'll be all
Yeah.
right. We're
Yeah.
good. Have you seen I don't know why, but the way you said that you've watched The Office,
Yes.
yes? You know the episode where like Pam has her first baby and she's like, and if I get there, I'll get there. And if I don't, I don't. Like when about
Right,
her baby because she
right.
really doesn't want to go to the
Mm-hmm.
hospital and she just keeps
Yeah.
waiting. It's like I'll get there when I get there, and if I don't,
Yeah. That's kind of
eh.
how I live sometimes, you know. You gotta live on the edge, you know, and see
See, and
where
I'm like
see
Jim.
where
I'm like
life.
I'm not crazy. You're
Yeah, you just
crazy.
gotta see what life gives you, you know. So we're gonna see if life is gonna give me some tickets on the day of, and I'll keep everybody posted on here on the stream, on and on the Insta. So,
Force
um,
be with you.
thanks. So this was episode 39 of the Comic Cinematic Universe, and we will catch y'all next week. Grace, you have a great weekend.
You as well. Farewell,
All right,
everybody.
later,
Good
guys.
job
All
today.
right. All right, see you.